As I reread this Bible again, I'm having a really hard time understanding how anybody can believe this shit. Because the Bible is just so stupid. What is up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you beautiful, blasphemous people? Welcome back to the Raging Atheist on the Rage. I'm your boy Nakasuchi. Today, we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 4, and I'm going to tell you how it's stupid. First, got to send that shout out to my patrons. You guys are the shit. Want to welcome my two new patrons. Twisted Skeptic and Vindictive Bat, I believe was your name. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. I will get you guys on my new Patreon slide. I'm redoing it. Bear with the old edited videos. I'm like 5 videos ahead. So if you'd like to become a patron, link is in the description below. Alright, y'all. So we've already covered some pretty stupid shit with this first book of the Bible, Genesis. Chapters 1 through 3, we saw how God made the world and made people and then didn't make people because he then made Adam and Eve and we all came from Adam and Eve. It's very confusing, very confusing. We saw how God couldn't find Adam when Adam was hiding out in the garden, and then we saw how Adam threw Eve under the bus, and then we saw how Eve threw the snake under the bus, and then we saw how Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden, never to be able to eat of the tree of life, never to find immortality, and truly be like the God that they are so similar to now since they ate of the tree of good and evil. I don't say that. The Bible says that. I'm sorry, Christians, you have it wrong. Not on me, that's on you. Alright, so without further ado, I guess it's time to get into chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4 is stupid. Alright, so Genesis chapter 4 verse 1 says, Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, with the help of the Lord I have brought forth a man. Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offerings, but on Cain and his offerings he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Alright, so we start this chapter with Adam getting all up into them guts with Eve, producing 2 children. So we know that they didn't have children in the garden because they were the only 2 expelled, never mentioned children. So Adam finally gets up in them guts. They finally have them some kids. They have Cain and Abel. Well, Abel kept flocks. He kept livestock. He kept living flesh. And Cain worked the soil. So Cain represents the vegetarian, the vegan, right? Abel represents the carnivore. Cain represents the vegetarian and vegan. So both would bring an offering. And this is where we get how God, how Yahweh is a flesh-eating, blood-loving blood God, because he doesn't want the vegetables from Cain. He wants the living sacrifices, the blood of the firstborn. And I find it, that God was really pleased with that it was the firstborn, because, he seems to have a taste for the blood of the firstborn throughout this Bible. And we'll get there eventually in this coverage. But I think we all know about how God took the firstborn of Egypt, right? So it seems like God has this bloodlust for the firstborn of anything. And it also shows that, God is just like a douche. Cain worked that ground hard, yo. And he was the first to bring an offering to God. God didn't ask him to bring an offering. He was just like, hey, I love God so much, I want to offer him some of my hard work. And God was like, fuck you, bitch. I ain't no vegetarian. What, you weak? So, just right away we get just stupidity from God, right? Like, I mean, we get greed, and we get selfishness, and we get arrogance, right? Like Cain worked hard for that, and God just dejected him, and Cain got pissed off. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you so angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. So here we pretty much have God just talking shit to Cain, dejecting him further. Like, why you being a little snowflake? Why you being a little bitch? Lift your head up, because sin is creeping in. You know, you getting all angry at me. That's sin. You should never be angry at me. I'm God, right? Like, I couldn't find your dad in the garden. And I think, you know, like, what is most important about this story is these people were actually living with God. They were talking to him. He was right fucking there, it appears. Right fucking there. And being in the presence of God, being dejected by God himself, did not lead Cain to do some great acts to impress that God. It led him to murder. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," Cain replied. Am I my brother's keeper?" All right, so here, once again, we have God not knowing shit. We have God not knowing where Abel is. God having to ask. And Cain, fully dejected now, is like, "Fuck you, bitch. Am I my brother's keeper?" I mean, how stupid is this? Like, if you're going to pretend that your God is this omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent master of the universe, how have you not read the first fucking book of your Bible? The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." All right, so God's showing surprise, didn't know what the fuck happened. Now he knows that, you know, Abel is dead. Cain killed him. And he curses Cain, not with imprisonment, not with, you know, eternal damnation in hell. Didn't send him to hell for his transgression. You know, and you think that, like, if you were going to go and commit such an egregious sin, living in the presence of God, that should just be way more worse than, you know, 2,000 to 6,000 years removed from God and doing it. You would think it would be a lot worse back then. Doesn't seem to be. Let's continue. But the Lord said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. And to Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael was the father of Methushael, and Methushael was the father of Lamech. Probably butchering all those names. So here we have, like, no real punishment. Like, the only real punishment is, you know, Cain doesn't have to work the fields anymore. He doesn't have to toil. The land isn't going to bear him nothing. He gets to wander and be a vagabond. No real punishment. Not thrown in prison. Not thrown in hell. God doesn't seem to have that big of an issue with it. I mean, nothing, you know, at least not as big of an issue as we do today. Lamech married 2 women, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all who played string instruments and pipes. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Alright, so here we get a very inaccurate depiction of the progression of mankind. We know through science that this took thousands upon thousands of years, not just a few generations. But here we are with a few generations, and we're from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age, and that's just how it is. But I do want to point you to, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, they don't give a fuck about one man and one woman as being married. No, these people were clearly polygamous. It was one man and however many fucking women you could find, I guess. And Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, listen to me, wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Alright, so the important thing here is generations are continuing. You know, people are growing up, they're having children. Those children are having children. Another important thing is these people had several wives, and they're living in the presence of God. And they had several wives. Marriage wasn't between one man and one woman. All right, so all of these years later, Lamech is saying, hey, I'm the same as Cain. I'm even worse than Cain. You know, I killed a dude too, right? Like, but it was several generations later. Let's continue. And Adam made love to his wife again. And she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, God has granted me another child in place of Abel since Cain killed him. Seth also had a son, and he named him Enosh. And at that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. All right, so this is the last verse in chapter 4. And right here, we get some ridiculous bullshit. We know that Adam and Eve were not immortal. They had not eaten of the tree of life. God had cast them out of the garden before they did, because had they done that, then they would have been immortal and truly godlike, like God himself. So we know that they weren't immortal. But this is literally saying that Adam and Eve lived from like the fucking Stone Age all the way into the Bronze Age. So, I mean, it's either, you know, people lived thousands upon thousands of years back then, or the Bible is complete bullshit, or the Bible is stupid. And I don't understand how people believe this shit. And people actually believe this shit. And I mean, Kent Hovind says that evolution is the dumbest idea he has ever heard. But compared to this, I just don't see how he gets that. This is the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my entire fucking life. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised about that. Because, I mean, the Bible's fucking stupid. Or I wouldn't be making this series. As always, I'm your boy Nakasuchi. This is The Rage. And I am the Raging Atheist on The Rage. If you like these videos, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share us on your social media, comment in the comment section below, hit that bell so you're notified every time we have a new video or every time we have a new live stream. And as always, I'm going to see you soon.